Welcome to a game between Helwor on Red Comet here in blue. He starts with an engineer commander and a rover factory. And he's going up against Jill, who starts with a hovercraft platform and a strike commander. So yeah, this map was requested by Marathon mostly, and he wanted to know about this matchup specifically. You can see here that both Helwor and Jill puts their mexes on high priority, and also their solars on high priority. So instead of micromanaging their commander, they set them on high priority, the buildings themselves, when they get started to get built. That's an alternative. Yeah, so about the mashup. In the raiding games, I'd say that daggers versus scorchers is pretty even. Scorchers have the advantage in low numbers when they wanna, like, for example, if you're trying to chase down a scorcher with a dagger, it can be pretty hard. So here comes Helwor. He's a little, Helwor is a bit, Jill is a bit unprepared here. And the daggers are kind of out of position, so let's see if the Scorcher does any damage. Yeah, managed to get some damage, loses one dagger. Yeah, and as long as the daggers are forced to chase the Scorchers at max range, the Scorcher will do a lot of damage. But yeah, Jill does a pretty good job there, and yeah, loses 2 daggers against 1 Scorcher, no big deal, loses no eco. Meanwhile, Helwor has been pretty safe, making a Lotus turret, so yeah, that keeps his base pretty safe against raiding. Daggers have lacked the DPS to really DPS down a lot of stuff fast, while Scorchers are more dangerous because they can really DPS down stuff. Daggers mostly depend on their alpha damage, so if you have a lot of daggers, then you can easily overrun Lotus turrets and just one-shot them. Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like Helwor is gonna get 1 mex there. Meanwhile, yeah, Jill did some decent micro there, killing 1 dagger and a dart, 1 Scorcher, and only lost 1, and gets a low health Scorcher there as well. Yeah. So yeah. Jill is staying pretty safe, having some radar here, just being able to keep track of the expansion of the enemy. And yeah, like as I said, Scorcher want to stay either at max range or they want to go into really close range against daggers. And it's a pretty even matchup, like the daggers want to kind of skirmish just in range, get the shots off and maybe retreat if they're low in numbers, or they can just go in and spread out and one-shot the dagger once you get like 5 of them. You need like 5 daggers to one-shot the Scorchers, so yeah. So Dagger Brawl can be pretty scary against Scorchers. And as you can see here, daggers don't have much DPS, so even if you catch a Mason out of position like this, yeah, daggers don't do enough DPS to really kill anything on their own in small numbers like this. So yeah, this is a pretty safe expansion, like having 2-3 cons expanding. He also has his defenses on high priority when building, so that's pretty good. Yeah, daggers in low numbers won't do a lot, but yeah, it's still a pretty even matchup. Scorchers are a bit more dangerous, like if you let them past your defensive line and behind your daggers, yeah, you're gonna suffer quite a bit. You can see here the both players are expanding pretty well, and yeah, they're pretty even in expansion. Helwor is a little low on energy here. And yeah, both players are being kinda defensive with their units. Yeah, I don't see any good opportunities for raiding here, both yeah, like Jill has a lot of daggers to protect their expansion, which is pretty good against daggers, against Scorchers to protect. And yeah, it's hard for Scorchers alone to do anything against that, like a big dagger ball against this. Like yeah, the daggers won't be able to chase down Scorcher without losing a lot, so yeah. Daggers are pretty good in defense, so you can see that the Helwor player can depend mostly on no defense and daggers in defense, and then the Scorcher player can like make a few Lotus turrets, and it gets really hard to raid for the low DPS daggers, especially since you have time to reinforce your position with the daggers, well, with your Scorchers. So yeah, here you can see that 2 Scorchers get behind enemy lines and they have quite a DPS, so yeah, Gil is being a bit distracted there by a few units there, so he lets 2 past. So that's, yeah, since Scorchers do a lot of DPS, they're easily gonna kill these mexes. And yeah, when the daggers are trying to chase down the Scorchers, they're gonna suffer quite a bit trying to chase them down. Meanwhile, Helwor is also raiding here, so yeah, pretty good multitasking there by Helwor. I think Helwor plays pretty zoomed out. Oh, 1 shot, 2 kills. So yeah, even gonna get a con here, that's pretty good. So yeah, Helwor did some 2-pronged attack there and get quite a bit of value, kill quite a bit of mexes here. Yeah, and kill a con there in the end. So that was pretty good. Gil could have prevented that with better micro, I think. But now, yeah, I think both players are gonna access here in a bit. Yeah, both players are accessing metal. Since they play so defensively, their eco really spiraled out of control here. And yeah, well, not their eco, but yeah, they should have built more energy a bit more earlier. But as you can see here, that Gil is getting quite ahead on metal use and metal produced. Meanwhile, yeah, Helwor made a few rippers here, and Gil is... yeah, the response here is not well coordinated. 2 rippers is a good number of rippers because you need 2 shots to kill a dagger, and yeah, you can see these daggers just get wasted. He should have just waited for their scalpel to get up in range and shot down these to help kill these rippers, because yeah, 1 ripper is easy to kill with daggers, but 2 rippers like this is much harder and a few Scorchers to support. So yeah, these rippers have really paid off. In this position, it's easy to overbuild daggers. They kind of fall off in value later in the game once there's a lot of Lotus turrets, maybe some rippers out, and maybe some fencer. It's gonna be hard to make costs with daggers if you can't outmaneuver the opponent and make some good plays going around their positions. Yeah. And does Gil have radar here? No, no raid. Yeah, there's a radar there built right now. But yeah, there are some units in time there to respond. So it's a question that the hover player has to choose between. Gets a con there, but not much else, I think. Yeah. Yeah, when do you stop making daggers? That's a good question. Like, it's a difficult choice. Like, do you want to... if the map is open, you want to keep making daggers for a bit, but when you want to make a push, you probably want to switch to like the scalpels and maces or something. Not too many maces, but scalpels is always pretty good, and then a few maces, maybe some halberds. Yeah, and yeah, making a position like this with solar collectors and just Lotus turret, that's kind of a bad idea against hovers, against rovers, because they can just make fencers and push this down. And if you don't have a stinger here, yeah, you're gonna struggle to make anything work against this. And with just since Gil overbuild with daggers, yeah, he's gonna have to. Yeah, Gil is gonna sacrifice the daggers. Yeah, and yeah, that's what happens when you overbuild daggers. And yeah, and now the halberds come in too late, so that's quite a bit of value lost there. Meanwhile, yeah, this looks like a half-ass attack. That's kind of bad for Gil. Yeah, so that was not too good. So yeah, you want to be careful not to overbuild in dagger, especially in a situation when the front lines meet. Like, when the front lines meet, yeah, fencers are really strong in that position. You need like to push them back. You either need to like dedicate to scalpels and maces and push the enemy back against the maces, but then you need to have enough to also kill the defenses, or you need to have like helpers. Oh, the commander almost dies there. That's so close. Yeah. Oh, 55 HP. So yeah, building solars in a forward position against rovers without a stinger nearby is a bad idea. You should not do it. You can see here that the value lost here was quite a bit more than Helwor's volley there, but still, Gil is still a bit ahead. Still has more army value. And now, yeah, this is an army that can easily kill the commander and bring this down. If you're fighting... in this situation, you want a hotkey, I think, to turn them on from hold fire to fire at will. So you can easily switch them all to fire at will once you get in to position, instead of having to manually target everything. So yeah, you should really have a hotkey for fire at will, so you can easily toggle between fire at will and hold fire, because you would have killed the stuff there faster and lost less units doing that. And here you chose to go for a forward attack instead of, like, if you went for all these fencers, you had like, what was it, like 7 halberds. Yeah, you could probably have killed all these fencers. Yeah, you could easily have killed all these fencers. Instead you chose to go for a base rush, which is really like... Yeah, I think it's a pretty bad choice. In what situation would it have been a good choice? I'm not sure. The deal is that then halberds are easily countered with like Scorchers, Ravagers, decent counter as well. You ran into some Rippers. Yeah, you don't want to just... Usually it's a bad idea to try to go for a base trade or base race with just halberds, because they suffer against Scorchers and yeah, almost anything basically. Yeah, not fencers, they're good with fencers. So yeah, instead of killing that fencer army in the middle there, you chose to go down here, which was a big mistake. You basically got nothing done. You killed like what? A caretaker? That's not a big deal. Yeah. Helwor has been accessing quite a bit this game, while Yill is not, so that's at least something. But yeah, that was a poor choice to go for the base instead of killing the fencer there. You managed to kill the fencers there in the end as well. But imagine if you had sent all these halberds, instead of going to the base, you had sent them and killed them here, you would have just overwhelmed them and killed them easily. And you would probably be ahead in army value now. Yeah, you're still ahead in army value, but yeah, you would have been much more ahead. Yeah, having a few daggers, even in the late game like this, can be pretty good. Like, they're pretty decent against Ravagers. You don't want to face them against a lot of Rippers, but yeah. Claymores are decent as well. Like, you want to make them kite the enemy and macro them pretty well. But you lose the commander there, so yeah. It's kind of sad. But yeah, you still have them on hold fire. You really want to have a hotkey to be able to toggle them on and off, so you can easily switch them to hold fire or fire at will. Meanwhile, Helwor is getting some raiding in here, so yeah. And yeah, this is a situation where Bolas and Daggers do fine. They do fine against Ravagers, so yeah. Just send them. You just don't want to be completely outnumbered, or your units will get shot up eventually. So yeah, at this point, yeah, you lost your commander. Now you're starting to get quite behind here. Yeah, this looks pretty bad. You were ahead most of the game, but yeah, you made some poor decisions of how to engage the enemy, and basically, so yeah, that's a problem basically. But you played pretty well before that. Meanwhile, Helwor got their economy in control. Let's see here. Yeah. And yeah, it's not a bad choice to just switch to Scorchers in situations like this for Helwor. Like, yeah, he opened up some opportunities to raid around the map, and yeah, Jill is behind, so yeah. Yeah, Claymores are still a bit slow. They're not that easy to prevent raiding. So yeah, I mean, having a few Claymores can be good to spread out on the map and prevent like enemy advances in combination with like daggers or bolas. Yeah. yeah. Helwor gets some decent damage here. So what else can I say? Yeah, this should be able to be wrapped up pretty soon. Yeah, I'd say this is a pretty even matchup. Like, yeah, Daggers versus Scorchers is a pretty interesting matchup. Scorcher has bigger damage potential. Like, if you get the enemy get a few Scorchers behind the enemy lines, they can do a lot of damage. While Daggers are still pretty good in defense, they can like outmaneuver the Scorchers and be in the right places at the right time, and then they can like one-shot them in defense or skirmish against them. Meanwhile, if the Ruber player just expands safely with like Lotus turrets like this, it's gonna be hard to do any kind of like damage with daggers, because if the enemy reinforces with like Scorchers or something or Fencers, yeah, it's gonna be hard to kill these cost effectively and then break in. So Dagger's bolt can still be scary, so you need to be aware of the dagger numbers. But then but once the front line settles, yeah, you have to be like once the front lines meet, daggers kind of lose their big potential, and if there's you can see how safe Helwor was here, making defense all along his inside his eco, and that gets really hard to raid cost effectively with for Rubers. I mean for hovers, because hover, even like both Bolas and the Scorcher and Daggers have kind of low DPS, so they're gonna take a bit longer than usual than other raiders to kill the defenses, and then they're gonna and then the enemy has more time to reinforce with Scorchers or some other units. And I wouldn't recommend raiding with Bolas, because it's only good if the enemy doesn't have like Scorchers in positions or darts, or yeah, there's a lot of units that can work against Halberd raiding. So raiders generally counter Halberd raiding, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you have a large amount of Halberds and you can run past, and then it doesn't have time to build enough raiders to counter them. But yeah, Halberds also good against Fencers, and you should have, instead of running, try to kill a base, which enemy can easily counter by just spamming raiders, or in this case Ravagers or Darks or anything. Yeah, you should have gone and killed these Fencers. That's what the biggest mistake of this game, I'd say. Because if you look at the value lost here, it's a bit hard to see here, but yeah, those are basically, you lost a lot more value than the enemy doing those things, even though you were ahead in metal used and metal produced. So yeah, I would recommend also having a few constructors in queue, because there's a lot of usually gonna be a lot of reclaim on a map like this. You had a bit too few constructors. Yeah, just include like maybe five daggers, or like a few mace, or yeah, have at least one constructor in queue in a matchup like this. There's always going to be a lot of wrecks that you want to reclaim and or advance with pork or make a stinger quickly. So yeah, both sides can benefit from stingers. Like even what do you call them, scalpels struggle a bit against defenses and stingers, so both sides can make stingers, while stingers are a good way. Like if you want to be this forward against Rubers, you can't make solars unless you have like a stinger here. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend making solars in a forward position against Rubers, because they can, if you don't have the means to counter Fencers, yeah, they're just gonna punch it down. And if they did, like they made a pork line here, and you had a pork line here but no stinger, then enemy can just move in and fire with their Fencers and then retreat to the defense line. And if you only have even if you start switching to maces and scalpel, they're gonna take a long time to get here. And if you have so I wouldn't recommend doing it without a stinger, really. So yeah, also have a bit more radars would be nice, I think, for Jill. Yeah. yeah, those are my tips for. Yeah, and about mace. Mace is pretty good, but you don't want to overbuild mace because the enemy can counter it with dominatrix. But if you like, you should be able to see dominatrix coming from a mile away, and most other units kind of counter dominatrix. Like you can use daggers, bolas, scalpel, even Helwor to some extent. If you can overrun all of them and kill the dominatrix, yeah. Um, yeah, you can build a lot of mace, but not overbuild it just so you get countered by dominatrix. But yeah, it's easy to kind of counter dominatrix in return. Good luck and have fun.